following is a live copyrighted presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for RadioLawTalk.com with your host, Frederick Penny, attorney at law. And now, RadioLawTalk.com.
We're flying under the radar, as I always say. Radio Law Talk. I'm your host, Frederick Penny, with Denise Dirks to my right and Todd Cunin to my left. We have the illustrious Chris Rodriguez away, Mr. Harvard boy, and we know why he's gone, and we're going to opine in that later. We have Cal Hunter, our illustrious producer, three-time Emmy Award nominee but never a winner. Cal Hunter gone. He claims he's playing Santa in a play. But again, Ton has done some research, and I know Seth Madden has been talking to our investigator. We will find out where they are. We think we know where they are, and we'll touch upon that this hour. We'd like to thank Brad Smith and Jeff Smith stepping in to help us. Our producers today, Brad and Jeff Smith, believe it or not, are not brothers. I think Brad is much younger and more handsome than Jeff, and that's why they're not brothers. So I don't think they look anything alike. But anyway, so Jeff can't say anything because he's at the board right now studying and being very studious and making sure things are being run right. Thanks a million, guys. I tell you right now, it's a beautiful day at Radio Law Talk because we have a lot of fun things to talk about. This is our third hour. Those of you who are just joining us, a lot of times your station will play us live, our third hour, and then they will replay our first and second hour in the next 2 hours. So listen to the first 2 hours. We had a lot of fun. We definitely are ribbing two important people, and that's Cal Hunter and Chris Rodriguez that are not here. And on Radio Law Talk, if you do not show up for your job, you will be ribbed, you will be taunted, and you will be teased until you will show up and never miss again. Isn't that right, Denise?
That's right. You miss, you're going to be taunted.
You're a target, man. It's a target. So anyway, we're going to find out exactly what they're doing. We're going to do case or no case. We're going to do case or no case. Did you send that to Seth?
I will.
And we're just making fun of Cal. We're taking his picture and drawing stuff all over it. But we think we do know where Cal is. Truly, we do know where he is. And we're going to get a picture of that. Our investigation team is working on that. We'd like to thank our latest stations to join us: Nevada Talk Network, KNNR Reno, KNNT Battle Mountain, KELY Ely, Nevada, KAVB Hawthorne, Nevada, and KPKK, the Amargosa Valley. We love the Amargosa Valley, Nevada. Thank you, Amargosa Valley, Nevada, for joining up and blasting us out to the millions of people in the Amargosa Valley. Because you know what? 2 weeks ago, our illustrious Harvard boy, Chris Rodriguez, had the gall to tell the Amargosa Valley people that they do not listen and they will not call us. And sure enough, they called in, and he owed Bill from Amargosa Valley $20. And what he did is he refused to pay the $20 because he didn't have any in his wallet. So I paid the $20.
Well, first he tried to get off on a technicality.
That's exactly right.
He said, oh, you live in Amargosa Valley, but you're not in Amargosa Valley right now when you're calling us, so I don't know you the $20.
That's exactly right. But we won the case, and the $20 and the signed Radio Law Talk mug and the shirt went to Bill, and I hope you enjoy it, Bill, in Amargosa Valley. We are going to put Amargosa Valley on the map. And thank you to KTKZ AM 1380 in Sacramento. Next week, we will be live 9 to noon on that station, and what a good, powerful station that's going to start beaming us out. There's a number of other people we thank. There's a lot of stations that are playing us, and we like to thank them. We have to tell you these stupid little tidbits because we're required to. Well, we don't require to. We just make sure we do it to cover ourselves. Go to www.radiolawtalk.com. Please read the exclusions. It's a very interesting read. What's it, 2-3 pages of small print that you can read about what we're saying that are not included, or what to be careful of, or what we don't warranty, or what we don't guarantee, and all that type of stuff.
I think we should come up with a little promo called Dramatic Readings of Our Disclaimers.
Okay, will you pull up the disclaimers, and we'll do that in a minute. Okay, so anyway, the disclaimer is we're only talking about general parts of the law. We are California lawyers, even though we talk about general legal issues. I am a Washington, D.C. lawyer also. But if you need to seek any legal, if you have any legal issues, seek local law firm or local lawyers to help you out. We're going so fast with Radio Law Talk. It's expanding so fast. We're trying to kind of keep up with it, which is exciting. Thank you, our sister station, KRAC and KBLF in Reading and Red Bluff. They are a sister station. That is the mother station. So go ahead. Todd's going to do a quick dramatic reading. Go ahead.
Okay. This is dramatic readings of the Radio Law Talk disclaimers. You understand that Radio Law Talk, hereinafter including but not limited to its
Do we have
guests
music?
and
Stop,
hosts.
pause. I know you're new, Jeff, but is there a way you could figure out, you and Brad, figure out a way to just to throw some of Cal's like soft music up? I don't know, but let's figure a way to throw some soft music up.
Do
behind
that. That's a nice background.
Yeah, or I can turn. I mean, they're looking up on the computer, but we have to do this dramatic reading with some music. If it's not going to happen, don't worry about it. But can you find something or not? Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Go. Here we go. Here we go.
All right. You understand that Radio Law Talk, hereinafter including but not limited to its guests and hosts, are not giving out legal advice, but discussing general legal issues. You also give permission to Radio Law Talk to broadcast your voice
Deeper.
and or writing over the air or on its social media. There are no guarantees that the legal issues discussed are fully accurate. Your issues and facts may not be covered under the attorney-client privilege. You are advised to seek legal counsel as soon as possible concerning your legal question or concern. You also understand that most of Radio Law Talk guests and hosts do not practice law outside California, and that food goes in here. Seek advice from your lawyer in your state. As it's best for you to use a different name than yours, do not use your full name when calling Radio Law Talk.
And that was Radio Law Talk after hours while you sleep. Thanks, Jeff. That was great.
For people that aren't seeing us on YouTube, food goes in here. Todd is pointing to his mouth. That's where he's pointing to. It's no other place.
Food goes in here.
I would hope there's no other place.
Oh my gosh! He said, "Can we turn the air conditioner on? It's so hot. It really is. It's getting really hot. Give me some air, Seth." Is he? You can't turn it on? Oh, we have to just hear. Okay, hold on. I'm going to open the door here. At Radio Law Talk, we do have we have these brand new studios we built. Oh, there's some fresh air. We just don't want people to come running after us with the door open. But
welcome to the sweltering segment of Radio Law Talk.
Well, we're going to talk about Katy Perry and the lawsuit that is involved with Katy Perry's involved, the Archdiocese, the Catholic Church, and it's about property, an area in California, a beautiful piece of property in California that was sold for supposedly $14.5 million to Katy, and it fell apart. And there's issues why it possibly fell apart. But that's going to be fun to talk about. We're also going to talk about Kate Steinle, and Kate Steinle is the San Francisco gal that was killed by apparently a ricocheted bullet from a illegal. I guess, how do you say it? What's the proper term?
Undocumented
Alien
or person that does not have apparently papers out of California. So we're going to talk about that. And what else do we need to talk about?
We're going to talk about case or no case.
Case or no case. And Seth's going to have that in a minute, but we've only got 1 minute left, so we have to just wrap a few things up. Before we do that, remember the important thing. If you want to call into Radio Law Talk, you can call us at 1-855-LAW-RADIO. And yes, radio is 5 letters. By the time you get to the I and you go to the next letter, it'll already be ringing. People are like, what? Why is radio? That's 5. Well, there's only 4 numbers you're supposed to call.
So it's 855-LAW-RADI.
Yeah, Law-RADI. That's exactly it. Or tweet us at Radio Law Talk, or go to our website, www.radiolawtalk.com.
Yeah, we actually run our show off the website live.
That's it. So we're going to be back. We're going to do a case or no case with myself, Fred Penny, and we got Todd Cunin, the criminal defense guy, and we got the family law lawyer, Denise Dirks.
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penny.
Okay, get ready to queue up. Not yet, but in a few seconds, guys, the famous Cal invented Case or no case. He was going to call it something else, but I didn't want to tell you what he was going to call it.
It was my idea.
Was it Denise's idea?
Yeah, it was not appropriate.
We don't want to say that it wasn't appropriate.
we could just call it conk. Case or no case. C-O-N-C. Conk.
Okay, conk. Case or no case. All right. Why don't you cue the case or no case Smith Non-Brothers. Cue it. Case or no case music.
Now it's time to play Case or No Case.
All right. Okay, we're here with Seth Madden, our illustrious D celebrity, not even C, that does our call screening. Seth, why don't you give a case or no case scenario to Denise, Fred, and I, and come to me last.
Okay, just a caveat.
Did you say
Fred.
Denise? Did you say Denise, Fred, and I? You are Fred.
And then
Jeez Louise. What hour? Are we the third hour? Is it
Yes.
time? Oh, okay.
Okay, so
actually, we're third and a half.
Fred is now channeling me, which is always a dangerous proposition.
Fred, and I guess I'll put Todd in there. Did I not put Todd in there? All right,
The
Denise,
illustrious
Todd,
Fred.
and I. Oh my gosh. Too late. Go ahead. That's why I think we had 1 week off. That was the problem. I'm kind of rusty.
We're out of phase. We're just
We're usually roll. We are so good at this. Hey, give me a little more. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
I
think
can hear
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just maybe it's my deafness. I was at the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Shout out for Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I was at that concert last night. What a great concert! It was great. And Seth went also at 3:30. Kind of. He had about a half hour's worth. But what a great concert! Thank you, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. If you want to be on our show and become a B celebrity like us someday, you can be on the show. So, case or no case? We've already done this stuff. Roll it. This is what we do really quick. Cal Hunter usually tells us a case that possibly could be true or false, and whether or not the case occurred or didn't occur, and what the outcome was, and we try to guess. And pretty. I've been doing pretty good. I've almost nailed it every time. I especially nailed the last one, the first hour, because
it was yours.
Because it was mine. So I think I've only lost one. Denise loses most of the time, but she nailed the last one.
Last two.
She's
I've
two in a
nailed the
row.
last
So
two.
there she goes. So give us case or no
But
case.
they're all personal injury type cases,
I
not
know.
family law cases, guys.
I know, but here's the key. If you guys want to do it also out there in Radioland, tweet us what your answer is. Go ahead, Seth. What is
so
what's
just
the case?
a caveat here. I was tasked with coming up with this the first 2 hours, so I'll take you to. I'll try to mimic Cal as best as possible.
You got to be a little deeper voice.
That's not happening. So I'm going to take you to the great state of Georgia.
Georgia.
Okay.
Okay.
A woman by the name of Mrs. Smith. And Denise, this might be right up your alley. This is actually a family law case or no case.
Any relation to the two guys in the booth?
No relation
Okay.
to the
Maybe
Smiths.
they might not know about it.
Okay. Well, coincidentally, Mrs. Smith had 4 sons.
Oh,
Mrs. Smith had 4 sons from 4 different fathers. One of the
This sounds like a campfire song. Mrs. Smith had 4 sons by 4 fathers.
Or is it around the campfire with the Boy Scouts you talk about this?
I don't know. Probably not if it's... anyway, go on.
So Mrs. Smith named her 4th son after the job title of a local weatherman.
What do you mean by that? A job title?
So job title is
like
news broadcaster at 4 or Channel 4 news broadcaster. Okay. So local weatherman discovered this, found out, and questioned paternity and wanted visitation rights to this child.
Wait, let's back up. So she names basically after this child after the weatherman, and he's wondering, whoops, is this mine?
Exactly.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So Mrs. Smith interferes, does not allow him to gain custody rights and parental rights and things like that. And he sends CPS over, like an investigator essentially. Sends
Like
CPS.
a well child's checkup or something.
And the investigator comes back and he says that the home that Mrs. Smith is living in is very hostile. She's living with her mother. And the 4 children are dangerous. And the 4th child, named after this weatherman, he tried to bite him. Tried to attack the investigator.
Well, it's my boy.
So,
well, Matt Lauer, he's going to be with you. Here's another guy. Here's another one coming down the pike.
okay, so weatherman sues, says the kid's mine. I want to change his name and I want custody. So case or no case?
Okay, so the first question is who you want? Who you call? Who you want?
Go ahead, Todd.
All right, so let me get this straight here.
By the way, we just have to. If you're watching YouTube, which is not live, Seth is sitting here telling it to us while he's holding the cue cards of how many minutes we have left. This is. Go ahead. I'm going to take a picture. I want you to hold up.
So let me get this straight. The woman has 4 boys by 4 different fathers. Her youngest son she is named after the weatherman. The weatherman finds out about it, and he now is questioning paternity and originally questioned paternity, sent CPS over because it wasn't getting anywhere. CPS came back, said, hostile situation. By the way, the kid that may be yours tried to bite me, and he is trying to get custody of that child.
The best part about it was she denied custody and said that he was actually named after a comic book and a perfume.
Do we know the name? Would it help me to know the name?
The name of the child?
Yes.
Okay, I'll tell you the name of the child.
And the age.
No, don't be looking up because then you.
Well, first of all, I'm going to say that
he just tricked him. You tricked him. He started looking it
First
up.
of all, I am going to say that this is a case because Seth immediately went to his phone to try to look up to find out the name.
Seth, you can tell he nailed you on that.
Sorry, thank you for falling into that one. And I'm going to say, because, was this the South?
Georgia.
Okay, this is a case. and I'm going to say this is a case based solely on the fact that he looked it up and it's in Georgia. All right, those 2 factors alone, it's a case.
Should we just right now say we all agree to that one so we can move on?
I'm going to say, because we're running up towards the end of time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Hold it up, Seth.
I'm just going to give the quick one because I think Denise is going to have the most input on this because this is kind of in her wheelhouse. Maybe I'm going to say that he prevailed.
Show me how many seconds.
And I'm going to give no reason why. I'm just going to say he prevailed. And that's it.
Yeah, because there's no money involved in this.
Yes.
I'm going to say, what the heck is she doing saying it's not his kid, man? He makes good money. He's a weatherman. Why are we doing that? I'm saying, yeah, he's my kid. I want you to pay for him. So we're going to come back and talk about more case or no case while Seth sits in as a host. And I'm Fred Penny with Denise Dirks and
Todd Kunin.
Thank you. Todd Kunin.
Tweet us at Radio Law Talk. We'll be right back after this.
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penny.
Case or no case, we were talking about Mrs. Smith with her 4 sons. Her 4th son was named News Broadcaster Channel 4, whatever, and the newscaster Broadcaster Channel 4 local weatherman brought a paternity suit, tried to say that was his kid. And CPS, he sent CPS out. They said it is a dangerous area to have this kid with the rest of the family there. And Todd said it is a case. And does he win paternity?
I say he wins paternity.
He wins paternity.
Yes.
Denise, Denise knows what she's doing.
Well, if it's California law, and I'm just going to apply California law instead of, because I do not know what they do in Georgia, but in California, if you begin, and he may or may not win, but the facts that, to me, are most salient is the fact that he found out this child had his name. Now, why would he have found that out unless he had some kind of relationship with perhaps the mother, right? So he found out under California law, he's supposed to, before the child turns 2, bring a request to establish parentage, and then he can establish himself as the parent of the child and go after custody and visitation and all of that. So here we've got him making a report to CPS. CPS then coming back and saying this is a hostile and dangerous environment for all the children. Sounds like they're thinking of removal, and he will have to get in right away to try to get custody of this child so that the child is not placed as a ward of the state, right? Removed and placed as a ward of the state. So I feel that all the facts together say that he's probably going to prevail. There's no other man involved. It does not appear to be a different type of a presumed father. She's not married, so the child's not born of a marriage. There's not a boyfriend in the house that is holding out this child as his son. That would be another presumption. So I do think he's going to prevail, and I do think that he will get custody and visitation, and then she will have to work her way back to getting custody.
Does the name matter? And why I say that is, if it's a very unique name, and obviously you named your son Spritz Fickelbert, that's my name, and it's not something you hear. But if the name was like,
Weatherman Channel 4 is what it says.
Bill Johnson, it's a very common. Wait,
or Jeff Smith or Brad Smith.
Are you saying that they named the child Weatherman Channel 4 Smith?
No. He's saying the name of the Weatherman
it's
Channel
the same.
4.
Okay,
right. But it's also a comic book and a perfume. So it does sound like it could be a unique name.
What's the name?
Right?
What's his name?
Okay, the
Batman number 5.
name of the child was.
Wait.
Okay, you can't say it.
Fred didn't weigh in.
Oh, no, I know exactly. I already know the answer. All right. The first thing I'm going to say is...
It's not negligence.
Yes, that's right. Well, it may have been negligence. I don't know. I wasn't there. But here's the deal. I think she made the biggest error of her career, which is saying that it is not your child. She said, yes, it is my child. I want part of your weatherman salary to help pay and raise this child. Give me child custody money.
Fred,
right?
did you say the biggest
Child
error
support.
of her career? Are you saying that
Yes.
bearing children is her career?
I don't know what her career is, but the biggest error was not to say that. Now, the second thing is, I say he loses on paternity for the following reasons. He is actually not the father. The father is the producer of The Weatherman, who was a one-time Emmy Award winner but never won. One-time Emmy Award
Three-time
nominee.
Emmy
Award. No, he's not a three-time.
It's only one
This
time.
one's only a one-time Emmy
gotcha.
Award nominee, but he never won. And the producer is the father. Therefore, there's no paternity. That's it. I
Okay.
got it.
What's
So-
the
But
name of this?
you made a good point, Fred, because definitely there would have to be paternity tests taken, DNA tests
Yep.
taken by a lab that the court would recognize as a valid lab.
Exactly right.
Okay, so a couple. So it is a case.
Okay.
So,
Oh, shocker. Shocker.
A couple
Beep, beep, beep.
additional facts.
Hold on, where's the ding, 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 ding? You can't find that one? I know Cal has, Jeff, a ding, 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 ding button, but I don't know where
So
that
the
is.
kid.
You
Oh,
find
clapping.
Yeah, or clap. Whenever you find it, just hit it. Right in the middle of our... Keep going. There you go. There you go.
Wrong one.
Wrong button, guys. There's one.
Well, that's okay.
There's
That'll
another
work.
one. Keep going.
Okay, so the kid
Yay!
tried to bite the guy as well as threw a lampshade at him. Okay.
Oh,
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. So Fred spoke of her career. So she works at Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Ooh, that's a...
She's
I
making
like
$6 an hour, and she admitted that she does not hold a job very long. Said that it was true in the past 5 to 7 years she had worked at 13 different jobs. She also admitted that she had been arrested 18 times. She testified that each arrest was for check forgery. Said that in 1994 she served 12 months in community punishment for forgery and theft
Wait,
of property.
what is the weatherman
This
doing
is a
at
Jerry
Kentucky Fried
Springer
Chicken?
show.
Yeah.
Some people can't resist those
Okay.
11 herbs and spices.
name of the 6-year-old child in question was Weatherby. Okay.
I told you weather.
His first name was Weather _by. So weatherby.com channel forecast. That was his name.
That was his name.
That was his name.
Yeah.
No.
And so
No.
whenever the father figured this out, he actually petitioned for a name change for the poor kid. But
We don't want to know. But was he the father?
was he the father?
he was the father. So paternity testing
got it.
established that he was the father.
All right. Thank you, Seth. I'm excited about that.
The kid was promptly renamed to Samuel Charles Spear.
Oh, we didn't want to put his name out there. Oh my gosh, that's okay. That's okay.
We'll just call him Weatherby.
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 Weatherby.com channel forecast.
Well, it all turns out good, and everyone's happy. Thank you, Seth.
well,
for
the
case
father
or no
got
case.
custody, correct?
And
Yep.
the father gets custody, and he's got the money to pay for the boy to have a better life. There you go. And not necessarily that money makes a better life, but it sounds like he was having a struggle anyway in life. So, all right, get out of here and go back to your job. And
4
find
Thank
a-
you, Seth.
Thank you, Seth. That was fun.
Hey, go back. Those of you, hey, he found the applause. Thank you. So those of you, that are listening out there, go to our Twitter page. You've got to see the picture of Cal. We figured out finally where he is. We thought he was at the marijuana dispensary in Shasta County on the, doing the, passing and selling dispensary items, But we actually found a picture of where he was. And Todd, where did you find him finally? Where did our investigators find him?
Well, apparently he is moonlighting, and he is moonlighting at the North Pole. And if the picture is what I think it is, the same picture that I had found earlier, you can see him with a let's just say he may be pulling a sleigh on the evening of December 24th.
So he is a true reindeer in disguise.
He is.
Okay, so he's a reindeer in disguise. Speaking of reindeers, let's talk about Katy Perry, and let's talk about Kate Steinle. That has nothing to do with Christmas, but Todd, tell us what's the latest on the Kate Steinle case and what that case is briefly about.
All right,
this is interesting.
So, folks, if you paid attention to the political campaign in 2016, you could not escape hearing about this whole debate about sanctuary cities and whatnot. And the worst timing of all is that in the middle of this, there was an individual in San Francisco, Kate Steinle, who was killed by what turned out to be what the defense argued was a stray bullet. She was killed in the Pier area of San Francisco and fell into her father's arms and died. Tragic. And the suspect, who admitted that he held the gun, was an individual named Jose Inez Garcia Zarate, and he's homeless, and he said he found the gun. The gun had been stolen from the vehicle of a Federal Land Bureau vehicle about 4 or 5 days prior to the incident.
And he was not a documented.
He was an undocumented. I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So what happened was, he said that it was an accidental firing, that the gun discharged. He didn't know it was going to happen, and the ballistics show that the bullet traveled in one direction, as bullets do, bounced off of a concrete wall, and then struck Miss Steinle about 75 feet away from the concrete wall, killing her. Not instantly, but within a few minutes of penetration of the bullet. And Garcia Zarate admitted that he had done this. Now, if we leave it right there, okay, and we view this, there's a question about whether or not he could be guilty of murder, first-degree murder, second-degree murder, manslaughter, and whatnot. And ultimately, he was acquitted at trial.
Recently,
the jury deliberated for about 2-3 days, and he was acquitted because the prosecution could not prove that for murder he premeditatedly and intended, there was no motive, that he intended to kill her. They could not prove for second-degree murder that he intentionally committed a dangerous act with conscious disregard for human life, because they could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this was anything other than an accidental firing. He didn't intend for this to happen.
He didn't even know that it was a real gun.
Well, that's what his argument was. Now, the prosecution tried to say that he was playing his own version of Russian roulette because there was one person that claimed that she may have seen him whirling around, spinning around, being very reckless with the gun, and he discharged it. But he was acquitted. Now, normally in a situation like this, people would look at this and say, okay, he was acquitted and it's terrible, but this case has garnered a lot of attention because he was an undocumented alien who had been deported 6 previous times, and he was a felon. We're headed up for a break. I can finish this up as soon as we get back about what all the issues are.
And we're going to talk about Katy Perry also. We will get to it right after this.
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penny.
Back to you, Todd, talking more about the San Francisco case. Then we're going to get into Katy Perry.
Absolutely. So we'll wrap this up pretty quickly. But just to correct myself, Zarate Garcia had been deported 5 times. He was wanted for his 6th deportation.
Wow.
And he was acquitted of all of the counts related to the death of Miss Steinle. But he was convicted of a single count of being a felon in possession of a firearm. The thing is by this time, because this happened a couple of years ago, by now he's credit for time served. He's served all the time.
He's done.
And immigration is looking to get him to go ahead and deport him. But the big issue right now is the jury, and rightly so, did not hear any evidence about his immigration status. Because under Evidence Code 352, which is the relevancy, his immigration status had nothing to do with the elements of any of the crimes he was charged with.
And it probably could also be prejudicial as well.
And so because it didn't have that, it was extremely prejudicial. In fact, the prejudice of that, the tainting of the jury, that prejudice outweighed any probative value at all, substantially outweighed it. And so none of that came in. But when you listen to the commentary on the news, everybody is using this, well, if he hadn't been in the country legally, this would not have happened, but that's not a consideration ever in a murder trial or a voluntary manslaughter trial. So the political nature of this is sort of overshadowing what normally happens in a criminal case.
But Todd, what I don't understand is clearly this should have been an involuntary manslaughter. At least he could have been found guilty of that.
Well, an involuntary manslaughter, they have to show that he caused the death by an unlawful or negligent act, and
Discharging the firearm?
but they could not prove what he affirmatively did to discharge the firearm, especially when he is saying, I was just holding it and it accidentally went off. I had just found this thing and I didn't even know it was a real gun. So if he was intentionally just, shooting the gun around and you could prove that, then clearly you'd get at a minimum involuntary manslaughter. But there was no surveillance video, no eyewitness of what he was doing. They had nothing to go on to prove what he was affirmatively doing prior to the discharge of that weapon.
So the fact that he had already violated the law by being a felon in possession did not play into the involuntary manslaughter.
Because that's correct. Because being a felon in possession doesn't by itself necessarily mean that it's a dangerous activity that is foreseeable or could lead to somebody's death. For example, you could have a gun in a gun safe in your house and be a felon in possession. But it's in a gun safe in your house. You just can't possess it. There would have to be something more. So, and the prosecution did something that they had spent their whole case trying to prove second-degree murder, and at the last minute, in the middle of the trial, filed a motion and got approval to argue that the jury could consider first-degree murder, which arguably threw a huge confusion cloud over the jury.
Because you have to have actual planning and intent, and
premeditation.
All of that. Yes.
And by doing that, it may have been a tactical error by really confusing the jury with the issues. It was like trying to get too much. So
anyway, will there be more about that later on? We're gonna
we'll probably come back to it.
We'll probably come back to it later. But let's get into Katy Perry.
Okay.
This is very interesting. Go ahead.
So
Denise.
Katy Perry was in talks with the Archdiocese to purchase a convent, and this convent was owned by two nuns.
The convent or the property, actually?
No, I think the whole property with the convent was owned. They had pooled their money together and bought the property decades ago, and under the canon law, the Archdiocese canon type law that's there. If the property does not belong to the Archdiocese, the property actually belongs to these owners. However, if it's sold or the value is more than $7.5 million worth, then these two nuns had to get permission from the Archdiocese to actually sell the property. So what happens? Archdiocese trying to sell it to Katy Perry for $14 million. There's one condition kind of holding it up. She has to find another piece of property that's going to fulfill one of the parts of this convent's duties. She does, and then the nuns turn around and sell it to what was it, a clothing?
It was a real estate developer.
Yeah, actually owns restaurants, apparently.
Yeah, but she's also a developer, Hollister, Dana Hollister.
That's right. And so
let's stop right there. So why did they want to sell to her, Denise, instead of selling to Katy Perry? Why did the nuns want to sell to this lady instead of Katy Perry?
There's two reasons. Okay. The first reason is they want the money. They don't want the Archdiocese to take the money. Mm-hmm. Because if the Archdiocese completes the contract with Katy Perry, they're going to get that money, and they're going to be able to segregate that money however they want. And these two nuns want to have the money. And secondly, they really don't care that much for Katy Perry. I think they don't have a lot of respect for her, and I'm not sure why, but just their lovely property and convent, they don't want it to be put in the hands of Katy Perry.
Well, let me tell you, quote, well, this is one of the nuns talking. Well, I found Katy Perry, and I found her videos, and if it's all right to say, I wasn't happy with any of it. Sister Rita Callahan told the Los Angeles Times. So I think it's pretty evident she thought, yeah, you're not following my rules or what I believe that you should be doing. Therefore, I'm not gonna allow you to buy this property.
There was also friction between these two nuns and the archdiocese that actually preceded this as well.
Right.
And that was in a letter that came as part of the appeals process that the two nuns had actually written and signed and sent to the head over the archdiocese about, disagreements they had with the way the archdiocese was running things. So this was sort of an ongoing feud between the nuns and the archdiocese, and the sale of this property and those requirements just sort of added fuel to the fire.
And the fight, the actual dispute involved the property itself, because these nuns had they had money that the archdiocese was holding on their behalf for this property specifically, and the archdiocese refused to pay the property taxes, refused to pay all these different things to help him, and actually refused to help these nuns. So there was tension there over money as well.
We don't want to say free. That's what they're alleged they refused.
Yes,
alleged.
That's
I'm going to say the word alleged.
There's just a lot going on with these fireworks here.
Yeah, so we got 3 minutes. Let's get to this is important what's happened. So after that, what happens is a lawsuit comes forth, and the issue of the lawsuit is who actually has the right to sell the property. And the jury and the judge found that it's the archdiocese that has the right to sell the property, because under the canon laws, which is church laws, which is kind of like apparently like contract almost, that they had to review it with. Basically, all goes all the way to the Pope, doesn't it?
Right. So the California judge had to apply the canon laws, and they found that the two nuns did not seek permission of the archdiocese to sell this property, and thus they did not validly sell the property.
And that raises a really interesting and unique issue where two people have to go to a California state court to have a California state court judge decide what the Catholic canon is for the sale of property. That's just sort of a unique situation that they had to go there.
And they went further. The jury went further too, and not only did Katy Perry and the archdiocese get $5 million in attorney fees, but the jury went further and said it was an intentional act. And so now there's a different stage
for Dana Hollister, the lady
that's
that bought the property, and actually she moved into it. She actually moved into it, which is the developer / restaurateur. Dana Hollister. And so now what's coming up is the next part of the trial, which is what?
The next part was punitive damages.
To determine whether or not there's punitive damages. And by the way, I just want to, we're just running out of time. I want to make sure I'm not trying to interrupt you. It's important to note that $3.47 million of attorney fees went to the archdiocese, and $1,570,000 went to Katy Perry for her attorney fees. So basically, $5 million in attorney's fees are going in there. And now the big issue is they still now got to determine in the next phase of the trial coming up in December, which is this month, whether or not the punitive
damages should be awarded and the amount of punitive damages. So what do you have to prove to get punitive damages,
Oh my
Fred?
gosh, that's an hour discussion, but it's basically malice, fraud, intent,
oppression, right?
Disregard, fraud. Intention. It's like an intentional tort is basically what it is. But there's a whole list of them. But that's it: malice, fraud.
$14.5 million sale price. Yep. Over a third of that, an amount equal to over a third of that has already gone to attorney's fees, and we haven't even gotten to punitive damages yet.
We have somebody to thank here today. Let's thank Olivia Scott from Pepperdine University School of Law. We're going to give her an autographed mug, and thank you for your research for us today.
We'll see you next week. Radio Law Talk. I'm Fred Penny.
Then again, it just depends on how long the time is left for you.
You have been listening to RadioLawTalk.com, a copyrighted presentation of Radio Law Talk Incorporated.